Do you ever wonder what is NFT, what is blockchain, what is metaverse? If answer to any of the question is yes, then let's dive into the video. Hi, this is Rajat Attewal and welcome to my channel. On this channel, I focus on three things. Number one, help you become a Web3 blockchain ninja. Number two, solve climate emergency by promoting sustainable products. And number three, help you decode your life equation so that you can live a happy and meaningful life. So if you're new to this channel, please subscribe to my channel. Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to discuss about indexing and querying. So I already covered blockchain, sidechain, development environment, and file storage. I would highly recommend that you watch those videos first before jumping into it, because I'm going to touch base some of the topics that we discussed earlier. So there are a couple of questions that we need to understand when I talk about indexing and querying, right? And these are the three fundamental questions you can ask yourself, like why we need this component in the whole Web3 stack, right? What is the unique value proposition of this Web3 ecosystem? So on the indexing and querying, I'm going to discussing about the graph protocol. It's also called the Google of blockchain, and we're going to discuss it, why it's the Google of the blockchain and how it works, and why is there not any existing solution, right? If there are existing solution, like how that's are different, right? So as we discussed in earlier blockchain section, right? When we talk about blockchain, it's simply basically a node, right? I'm just trying to answer the first question that we asked, right? Why we need this component. And as well as we see that, it's just a concatenation of various blocks, right? You're serially adding to a chain of blocks, right? And say for an example, I've done a transaction. So I have my wallet and I have my public key, right? And maybe I did a transfer of one token to another person. And I have one transaction here. I had done similar to that transaction in the next couple of iterations, right? Maybe 2 days after, and that's been added to the blockchain. So I've done maybe 5 transactions there where I'm transferring the money or integrating it with various or using some decentralized application. And these are the transactions that I'm doing on top of the blockchain, which are like, it's a ledger, it's a database, which is storing all of this information. And you can have this whole kind of history for me, for my particular wallet and, the public key. So these are the transactions, and it's concatenated on the blockchain. Now the challenge with this kind of architecture is that, it's not designed for querying, right? If you're coming from a database background, you might have heard about index, right? Or if you have already know about Google, for an example. Now all of this data is stored on the blockchain, but it's not in the format that you can actually access it very easily. And indexing a blockchain is quite hard, right? Because every day you have these new blockchain that are popping up, right? So Ethereum was the one that started. Now you have Avalanche, Near, Solana, right? And the way you access that information, I will give you some of the snapshots. There are companies that actually started indexing this data, and it's a simple data problem. So they read Etherscan is something developed by, Ethereum. So what they do is, right? So if I want to see okay, so this is my wallet, right? These are all of the transaction that's been done by that sort of wallet or that particular person. This is not my account, by the way. So I've just taken a random address. The idea is that, these are the different transaction that's been done by that particular public key, right? Again, we'll go into detail how you're going to push a transaction on the blockchain, but this is a kind of history that I've done. And everything is stored on the blockchain, but in a serial fashion, right? So the way these companies like Etherscan, and if you go to the Avalanche, right? So you got their different Explorer also, similar thing basically, right? If I want to check the transaction that's been done on a particular account, what they're trying to do is basically take all of the data from the blockchain and listening to the blockchain itself. And then they listen to this blockchain, right? And they create a database, right? And create an index on top of it, on which you can build this kind of, analytics, right? Which has been done. And this was pretty much okay, when you had just one blockchain on the whole planet, right? And this is how you will start. But as more and more blockchain are sort of added, and all of this data is logged into, in these blockchain, right? You needed something kind of an aggregator where you can actually get the data, from the blockchain. And that's where the graph comes in. The current approach that people used was like actually using something that was available by these companies, right? So they also provide APIs. Like if you go to Etherscan, you can access the account information, your contract information, transaction information, everything using their API. But we need to understand the foundation of Web3, which is whole of this decentralized architecture, right? And when we want to create a decentralized architecture, you need a decentralized way of accessing the data also. And that's where the graph actually came in. I think it came down in 2017. The whole idea is that it's a decentralized way of indexing the blockchain. And there is a whole article which goes into the graph network in depth. GRT is the token. And when I discussed about Web3, so this is one of the example where I talk about the crypto economics, right? That, in this, like you will be using these services, but you will be paying for it. And the idea is that it has to be a decentralized so that various people can participate in it. And based on that, they will be getting a lot of token, right? And that's how it's the whole economy of the, these protocols actually work, right? You're getting some benefit out of it. So the graph protocol is a decentralized architecture, right? Where you have various nodes. Again, if you come from a mining background, you will understand that. But let me just quickly go through, again, this is the whole token economics on top of it, right? So you got consumer who's going to pay for this data, which is there onto so something similar to what you see on Etherscan, for an example, right? If I want to get data for my, all of the transaction for my wallet, for an example, it's like one specific use case, or I want to check like what's happening on Uniswap, for an example, which is a decentralized exchange, like what's the liquidity look like? All of that information can be converted in a sort of graph. And the graph comes from, so basically it's an API for a vibrant decentralized future, right? What it means is that it's indexing all of the data on the blockchain and creating a graph API on top of it. If you have not heard about the graph, so if you build API, it's a de facto standard nowadays, right? So things about like Gatsby framework, if you heard about in React, right, uses graph, right? So people no longer writing the simple REST APIs that we used to write in the front-end application, but it's the graph, right? So you can have like very complex queries that you can write, and I think is the de facto standard now. So it's again giving that graph layer on top of the blockchain and doing that in a decentralized way so that it creates this token economics. So I will have the link into the video itself. Go to the description and you can find. But the idea is that the consumer is someone who want to consume this blockchain data, because if you have to index, and it's one of the hard problem, right? Because you have so many blockchain and you want to index all of the data, right? It's a very